What's up, everyone? Vince Ingenito here. I'm the guy that got to review Evolve for IGN, and I'm sitting here with my friends Mitch,
me,
James,
hello,
and Alex.
Hi.
And now we're going to jump into some of the finer points of what we think makes Evolve so wonderful. But before that, let's take a look at the review. It's really rare for a big multiplayer AAA release like Evolve to feel so considered and intelligent. Everything, every skill, every mechanic, every design choice seems to interlock in a way that's both natural and purposeful. That it's so mechanically rich and still conveys the raw energy and fun of duking it out with huge monsters and action figure-esque hunters is a real design feat. Its progression system stifles it a bit early on, but regardless, Evolve is a deeply rewarding multiplayer experience that packs both brains and brawn. Okay, so now let's get into talking about a little bit of why Evolve at first seems a little bit more narrow than it really actually is, which I think we can all agree is the progression system that they've included. There's this, when you start Evolve, you have 4 hunters, 1 monster, and you have to kind of jump through some hoops to unlock the rest of them, and that kind of leads to the game seeming a little more simple than it actually is. So I know that right now it's hot. Right now, for the last decade, it's been the thing to have, a thing to, a carrot that's dangling constantly. You have to give players something to work towards to keep them motivated. Yeah. Or at least that's what the kids tell me these days. I don't know. But what did you think of that in Evolve, Mitch? Do you think it served the purpose of what Evolve was doing, or do you think it got in the way of it?
I think it is the absolute biggest problem in that game. It is a huge anchor on it. It's in this like sailboat. It's like it's trying to get somewhere, and it is held down by this horrid progression system that doesn't make any sense to me. It gets in the way of the player enjoying the game in a way that just it baffles me. You want people to come in, you want them to explore these different mashups of hunters to maximize the efficiency in taking down a certain kind of monster, but you're giving them so few tools to do that they end up having to just grind against a character they may not even like to unlock the next one. And it's not even like there's any kind of parity across all of them. If I want to unlock the next support, I have to play support. Mm-hmm. A character I might not like if I want to play a support and that character isn't a good support for me, I don't buy into that person's style.
Right, you're not into Hank.
Sure.
Cabot's your thing.
But maybe I'd love Cabot, but it's like Cabot's locked behind this character I don't want to play.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. There's no other way around it, right? You can't play a bunch of Daisy or Maggie and Daisy to unlock some assault guy.
Right, you can't do it.
It's such a pain. It's in the way. And it just doesn't make any sense to me that not everyone is available for the word go. Because there is an interesting progression system. You can improve everybody individually by playing them.
Right.
You get these stat bonuses that totally fine, got it. I get these little improvements that works for me. I don't need to follow a dog for 2 kilometers so I can unlock the next guy who's worse.
8,000 meters.
Oh, yeah, that's the rough thing about it. And I think I noticed it so starkly when we went to 2K to play a lot of the game when we were doing some IGN First coverage. Back for IGN First. The build we sat down and played, every single character was unlocked and every single perk was unlocked.
Sure.
And at the maximum level of that perk. So
I don't know why I didn't think this is just how the game is.
Right. That's kind of what we thought. And then when I sat down and played the alpha for the first time.
Where's Bucket?
I was like, where's Bucket? Exactly. Where's Bucket? Where's Cabot? Where are my boys? Where's my robot bro? And I suddenly I was like, wow, the number of decisions I have to make about my team composition and the perks. The perks are actually, especially once you level them up to level 3, the statistical difference that those perks make are huge.
Yeah.
But only once you get to level 3. Some of them are impactful at level 1, but a lot of them, the damage, 6% damage or whatever it is, doesn't really seem like a big deal. But once it gets to the 3rd rank of the perk, it stacks, right? It stacks across all the members of your team. And once you get that number a lot higher, once it's the level 3 version of the perk, it makes a much bigger difference. But the bigger problem, I think, is how it misrepresents what Evolve is. And James, you and I have had this conversation a lot about, in particular, how Daisy affects that, because in terms of learning the trapper position, right, which is of course the position for finding the monster and keeping the monster locked down so that you can fight it. There's this line of, hey, on this side is how easily you can find the monster, and then on this side is how effective you are at controlling the monster's movement once you found them. It's Abe is all the way over here where he's super bad at finding the monster, but he's super good at locking it down once and keeping on it once you're there. And then you've got Griffin, who's right in the middle, and Maggie is all the way on she can't really lock the monster down that effectively, but she's really good at helping you find the monster. But
she's
the problem
a tool,
is,
right.
She's a tool, right? And this limits how people look at the game.
She's a tool, not a crutch. So everybody, when you first start playing, you follow her. You don't want to do that. You want to use her like a compass. But before I discussed that. I want to say a disclaimer. Progression is hip with the kids. And I am one of those kids, and I like progression. That being said, the progression in this game is abysmal. And yes, because it locks out all these characters, but the bigger problem for me is that it creates two divergent paths that the player has to choose between. Would you like to play efficiently, and would you like to play your class well, or would you like to unlock the next character? So, for instance,
That's a very good point.
Following Maggie is actually de-incentivizing you from playing efficiently.
Right.
So,
and the reason
Follow
for
her
that
longer so you don't
Right.
find the monsters quickly.
exactly
Right,
right.
yeah, and that's to make clear to everyone at home, Daisy will find tracks for you, she will point you in the right general direction, but if you always just follow Daisy, you're only ever going to go where the monster just was, you're never going to where the monster is. And you kind of always have to look at the map and try to divine where the monster is going to be next.
Right.
And that's a big part of hunting.
Right.
And that's a big part of what makes Evolve so dynamic, is trying to track
Right.
this thing that's constantly moving and not just trailing behind it the
Right.
whole time. But Daisy kind of...
Totally. And another reason why I don't necessarily like Daisy, and we've had this conversation before, that
Yeah.
we both think that Griffin should be the starting trapper.
Yeah.
Because there are all of these really interesting, just fun, dynamic ways to track the monster.
Mm-hmm.
You can look for corpses. You can, obviously, footprints, fallen trees. But the biggest one is sound.
Yeah.
And hearing it and kind of just getting there and almost doing that, like, I don't know, spidey sense thing where you're just like,
Yeah.
It's
Well,
here.
I can feel
right,
it.
yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that's such an interesting experience compared to, all right, girl, show me where the monster is.
Right, and
You know.
like, when you first start playing, of course, it's natural that you'd want to do that. But
Right.
because of the game incentivizes that so heavily, you really do feel like, oh, well, that's the way I play.
Totally.
And then you fall into that pitfall like we were talking about earlier, which is that, oh, this is a game where I follow a dog and then shoot what I find at the end.
Exactly.
And that's not interesting.
And there's nothing more to it.
It's also a
Right.
problem because I understand the necessity of having Daisy and Maggie there, because you have Daisy as a means of like, okay, you as the hunters are going to be trailing the monster. This is one of the tools by which you can do that. Got it. It's helpful. It's easier than just kind of jumping in blind and not really knowing what to do. But then you also still have that shock when you lose Daisy. When you jump in and you play as
So true.
Yeah.
the
It is
second
so
guy,
true.
it's like, well, now I'm at a loss because I've been trained to follow this dog, and now I don't have that. So what do I do?
What do? Alex, did you
Yeah,
have that
I had
experience?
such tunnel vision with Daisy, and it took, losing Daisy to realize, oh, broken trees and, animal corpses and things like that, other things that I can use, environmental clues to track the monster down. You don't have to have Daisy. And bringing it back to the progression system, I also enjoy, unlocking stuff. I don't skip that screen where all the bars fill. I love watching
I like to
bars
see
get
it.
filled.
Sure, I mean, me too.
There's a lizard
It's
part of my
rewarding.
brain that loves that.
Yeah,
and at first
absolutely.
I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. I liked how, who's the second trapper? Is it
Is Griffin, yeah.
Griffin? I didn't really understand how his sensors worked at first, but I knew that just by dropping them, I could unlock stuff. So I just was dropping them
Yeah.
everywhere. And then, the monster went by it, and that's how it works. The range on this thing is actually pretty big.
Yeah.
So I did learn a few things from the progression system. But then once I had everything unlocked, or almost everything, I felt like I had the real game, and I was like, okay, yeah, now I see the depth. Okay, I can dart him with the medic, and then the dude who can see through walls can railgun him and things like that. It really it damages competitive play, at least until everybody has everything unlocked, because your Markov is not the same as my Markov because
Sure.
I've got such and such unlocked and things like that.
And my biggest concern really with it is that people will exactly the experience that James had, where he came to it at first and was just like, Vince, I don't know what you see in this game. And my fear is that a lot of people will come to it, and because of the progression system hamstringing their ability to see all the choices, that maybe that'll be a person's first and last impression of it.
And honestly,
and
they
then
have
walk away.
already. There's a lot of people
Sure.
who already have come to that and decided that this game it doesn't have the longevity to last the amount of time that they want to.
Right.
And they're kind of done with it before they got started.
See, I am of that mind right now, and I've played probably 20 hours of Evolve at this point, and
At least.
At least, yeah. It's we've played a lot.
Yeah.
And at this point, I am also of that mind. I feel like after 20 hours, I've exhausted everything I could possibly get out of it. I've seen most of the possible scenarios, and anything else I haven't seen, which is I haven't played a ton of games with Wraith, because I hate playing against Wraith. It's not fun. It's a broken monster. I just don't enjoy playing against it. I think it's too efficient, it's too fast, it's too strong.
I have the exact opposite opinion.
Yeah, and it's funny
Really?
because
And that-
also,
yeah.
Oh,
and I think your
I can't stand
impressions,
Wraith.
your impressions are coming also from the beta Wraith.
Sure.
Wraith has been nerfed into the ground.
So what's different
Yeah.
in retail?
So in the retail version of Wraith, so you know how decoy used to be, there was no tell on if you were shooting
Sure.
the decoy. So that's different. When you shoot the decoy now, it blinks white. So
Yeah.
you can always instantly tell that you're shooting the decoy. The other thing is before, decoy cloaks you, and you could dash.
Yeah, I knew they
cloaked.
took out the dash.
They took that away. Now, if you dash while cloaked, not only does it reveal you, but it kills the decoy.
Oh, good. That's good.
So you cannot play an endless game of attrition with decoy the way you could.
That was a massive problem.
But I agree, that was a big one. But they totally addressed that with
I really thought that
patch.
Wraith would be the only monster I ever saw online. Like when I was playing with Wraith, I was like, well, this thing is the best.
I mean,
Why would
you
not
would
be
if the
Wraith?
progression wasn't so grindy. You would see people who were like just playing it because it's available, rather than like, well, I need to play 30 more games to get there.
Yeah.
Right.
I think regardless of any differing opinions that we have about the balance or how many hours we get out of the different permutations, I think we can all definitely agree, though, that we would have gotten, there's a lot of hours to get there that some people won't because that progression system just makes them think that there's nothing there.
Right. I don't think the absence of it would have been the best solution. Maybe it would have, but I definitely think the way that it's laid out now is not good.
No.
It's a tough, kind of curveball to hit because it's, like you said yourself, being one of them kids.
Yeah, man.
In this day and age, you just
Gotta
can't.
prestige.
You just can't. Right, you got prestige.
Yeah.
Got to get that prestige, man. Like you can't make a multiplayer game for better or for worse. You cannot make a multiplayer game anymore without one of those progression systems. But if the progression system hamstrings, what the goal of the game is, then maybe the best thing is to not have one. I don't know. It's interesting to talk about, but. Thank you so much, guys, for your thoughts about the progression system. What do you folks at home think about the progression system? Does it give you that motivation that you need to keep playing, or does it just get in the way of the fun you want to have with Evolve? Be sure to let us know in the comments below, and for more on Evolve, keep it right here on IGN.